So this week, I'm honestly, truly delighted to welcome to the show a wonderful healer called Zach Rehder, who I actually met in Sedona a couple of months ago. Zach is an international teacher, speaker, and, as I said, healer. Through a series of awakenings, he became a channel for messages and energies that heal, unlock, and awaken human potential. His work enables individuals to dissolve barriers and free themselves from negativity, limitation, and lack. Zach travels to facilitate seminars and workshops, mainly around the USA, unfortunately, and regularly hosts teleclasses and online programs, which are available to everybody, everywhere. He provides remote and in-person private sessions for clients around the globe. Many clients have experienced amazing, inexplicable healings and awakenings through Zach's programs and sessions, and I would say I'm one of them. Zach's mission is to support others in their awakening process. He assists people in removing physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual obstacles so they can clearly see, hear, and follow their own divine guidance with grace and ease and fully embody who they came here to be. Welcome to the Mainly Moonology podcast. I'm your host, Yasmin Boland, an award-winning astrologer and the Sunday Times best-selling author of books including Moonology and creator of the Moonology Oracle cards. My intention for this podcast is to help you understand how you can create your dream life using mainly Moonology, the moon, as your guide. So, welcome to the show, Zach.
Thank you so much for having me, Yasmin. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. So, Zach, we met in Sedona and you kindly came over to my wonderful room at the Matterhorn Inn on the main drag of Sedona there, where I had a view of the incredible Sedona landscape. And we did an interview which ended up with me getting a healing, which was quite an extraordinary experience for me. And then the interview got garbled up by technology. And so here we are speaking again. So first of all, when we were chatting, you said, well, obviously we're meant to speak today. Are you a believer in that, clearly the interview got messed up for a reason, and here we are re-recording it, actually under Mercury Retrograde, which is kind of funny. Do you think things like that, is that a sort of a way you live your life? It's thinking things like this?
Yeah, I think that's the way that the world works. It's it's like, okay, we were supposed to be here today, because if that wouldn't have got messed up, we probably wouldn't.
Yeah. So funnily enough, I've literally forgotten everything we talked about in Sedona anyway, so I can come to all this fresh. Tell us, how did you get into healing, and what kind of healing do you tend to do? Because I know you're a very powerful healer. I can vouch for that myself.
Yeah. I forgot everything we talked about before too. So this is fresh for me as well. I got into it's when I look back at it, connecting the dots, you get to see like all of the ways that healing was showing up, throughout my life. I grew up in martial arts, and that's when I started playing with energy, looking back and seeing how, seeing like as a kid, how intuitive that I was, but not understanding any of it and getting mixed up in it. And so there's been this journey of just following the next step. And, people ask, how'd you get into this? And I like to say dumb luck. I didn't know where any of this was going necessarily, but it was like I knew what the next step was. And so it's like just to follow the next piece, follow the next part of our knowing, and it's always taking us someplace so much bigger than we were trying to go in the first place.
And have you studied any particular modalities, or have you just kind of intuited your way to your healing skills?
I've taken in a lot of different information. I've dabbled in everything. A lot of like the healing work that I've been doing for a long time, kind of that came through just intuitively. But and
let's just dive into that a bit, because I know, people are going to love to know about how you intuitively download healing information. I mean, do you sit down and do you meditate? Do you do journaling? Do you just know on some level? How does that work?
Yeah, I think I realized that I very much, I have a deep relationship to feeling. And so I feel other people, and I feel what's going on in their bodies a lot of times like it's my own body. And for most of my life before I realized that was happening, I just thought that I was hurt and messed up all the time. Like I always had all this stuff going on with my body.
Mm. Wow.
And eventually coming to the, realizing it's like, oh wait, this is awareness. And so the more that I started opening up the awareness of like, oh wait, I'm aware of something's going on in this person's knee, for example. And it's like as soon as I stopped like owning just because I feel it in my body that it belongs to me, as soon as I like, started to relax the grip on that, it started to get a lot easier. So I still very much feel, when I'm talking to somebody, feeling what's happening in their body. And then we can kind of like, okay, here's this spot that's talking, or here's, I asked a question and here's this spot that really like tightened up or locked down, or, we feel some resistance there. And then we just start following that. And it leads us to some new place with it. And so I don't necessarily know where it's going. It's like we get to, follow the breadcrumbs, and then we find the thing that opens it all up.
Yeah. So I had this amazing and unexpected healing with you in Sedona. First of all, we talked like we did the interview, and then we talked for a good 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes about, stuff that I wanted to discuss at the time. And actually, I felt quite healed just as a result of that conversation. And I thought, okay, well, that's great. Zach's given me this lovely healing. And then you said, no, lie down. So I lay down on the end of the bed, and you sat on the chair just there, and you put your hands, I think, as I recall, on my shoulder and my back. What would you have been doing? Are you manipulating energy? What are you doing when you do that? Because you're really doing something, because I really had almost like a paradigm shift that I'd been
Yeah.
trying to have, but somehow you facilitated it.
Yeah. A few things with that. We were getting into deep things, and so like that's already opening and moving the energy. And so it's like, sometimes sessions can look just like talking, and then all of it, and then things open up from there. One of the things that I learned about the healing work that I do, this was a long time ago. The voice of God came in and let me know that if I can understand it, that's not exactly what it is. And so it was like, kind of letting me up until that moment. I thought I had a lot of things figured out, and it's like there was always reasons to be doing things. It's like, and everything that we were doing is to get to a certain point. And it was like, it was all based on understanding, which wasn't actually taking in the truth of what's really happening. And so one of the things I love to remind people all the time, we have these wonderful minds. These minds are absolutely incredible, but these minds are also very limited as well. And so our mind can't understand or comprehend something that is infinite, something that has no beginning or no end. It actually needs beginnings and endings. It needs context. It needs boxes. It needs to make something small enough to be able to understand it. And so our mind will never be able to understand infinite. And so who you really are, what you really are, why you're really here is beyond any story that we could come up with about it, you know. And it's nice. We still have stories about ourselves, but it's like to try to just stuff yourself into that story and then that's all you are. It's always going to get tight and small. And like that's oftentimes what we're bumping up against, this place where we've really identified ourselves as this thing, or we've really decided that this thing isn't possible. And it's like all of these things are going to get tight and crunchy because they're not entirely true. And so, in this work, I found I got that hit. And then all of a sudden it's like I started to realize like, oh, I think I have everything figured out. And so I started to question all of those thoughts. Hey, what if this isn't true either? What if this isn't true? Oh, I'm sure that I know that I'm not good enough, or that I'm missing something. Hey, and what if that's not true? And just started opening all of this up and opening all of this up. And so, um, when I do sessions or when I play, just when we're playing in the magic, it's almost like the less that I have to understand it, sometimes the more incredible it can be. And so there's a lot of times where it's like I know to do something, but I couldn't tell you why. And so
Right.
that's a lot of the like when I'm working in that space, it's like, oh, how did you know to touch me there? And it's like, well, I didn't know why it was happening, but I just knew to do it. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
And so that's like, it's like, I don't know why that, right? Well, why did this just open up that thing, or, some emotional release happened, or all of a sudden this pain went away. Why did that happen? It's like, I don't know why. I just know that it works.
Yeah, yeah. And so, because I know everyone who's listening is going to be thinking, wow, that sounds amazing, but I'm not in Sedona or the Southwest. Do you do this online, do you? And do you do it with the same sort of power, do you think, over the, cyberspace or whatever it is?
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't, it's kind of like, again, if we have the belief that it can only be done in person, that belief might be getting in the way of all the incredible possibilities happening. And so one of the things, just like for those listening to this, it's like, like start to question, if everyone's, like start to question, it's like, what are you so sure that you figured out? And what if that's not entirely true? And it is. It's like we start making more room. It's almost like relaxing the stranglehold on understanding that our mind does so much. It's like we start relaxing that, and it's like the less that you need to understand, the more magic that you get to see, the more that you get to be a part of. And so, there could be someone that's super, super intellectual, and they're strictly locked into logic. It's like you give them a spiritual experience. One, they're either going to forget it and pretend like it didn't even happen, or two, they're going to just stress out for so long trying to figure out the science behind it, and they're just going to be stressed and frustrated because they're never going to figure that out.
Right. So, I mean, one of the things that it sounds to me a bit like as well, surrender a bit, which is something I'm quite big on, just surrender to what is and stop trying to work everything out and stop trying to control everything. But
Yeah.
what about for people who are listening, when they're going through a really rough time, say, they've lost their job, or they're breaking up with their partner, or, they can't, they don't have the money they need to do something they really want to. What is your advice when something is happening that you really don't want to have happen? How do you apply this kind of enlightened, wise advice in cases like that, where someone's going through something that they're really fighting, and that they certainly don't even feel like they've got it figured out. They're just in survival mode.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that saying, and I love this saying, that it's like, what if everything is happening for you and not to you?
Yeah.
And so again, someone loses their job, and that's going to bring up so many feelings, right? That's going to bring up so many belief systems. It's like all of these things come up from that circumstance. It's like it's really why that situation is such a gift. That situation is actually the opportunity for us to get free. Because it's like, here's, if I lose my job, and it's okay, all of a sudden this story of I'm not good enough comes up, and all the feelings that come up with that. It's like that story and those feelings were already in there, and we're kind of dragging those around like those are a part of our system until we heal them. And so we don't necessarily get to heal those things. It's like when life is just going well all the time. And so
Yeah.
it's like, to really look at that, it's like it's a tremendous opportunity when we're having a bad day, when stuff is falling apart. This is actually the incredible opportunity. And so,
What about if you're having a bad month or a bad year?
yeah, yeah, I've had bad decades. So, um, it's how to really take advantage of it. And so one of the things that happens, and so, hey, this thing happened, and we're doing the example of like, hey, I lost my job, and it's like, wow, all these feelings are coming up. It's like we have a mind that's running, that's trying to get us away from those feelings, right? That's made those feelings bad and wrong. That's trying to do anything to control them or separate them or get away from them. Whereas the healing comes in feeling the feelings. And so there's such a big difference between feeling and thinking we're feeling. It's like the more that we've figured this out. It's like, no, I'm sad, and the reason that I'm sad is because I lost my job, and I'm not going to feel good again until I find a new job. It's like all of these belief systems and stories in there And all of that just got in the way of just feeling this feeling, feeling what's really happening right now. And so I always love
Yeah.
to give I love to give people this question, what if this doesn't mean what I think it means? Just as a nice interrupt and as a nice way to like set aside the story for a minute so that we can actually just feel what we're feeling. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of everything. The breath is everything. And so it's like this feeling that's bothering me is just a feeling that I haven't breathed with. It's a feeling that I haven't felt yet. And so to breathe and feel is the most powerful healing work that any of us can be doing.
Yeah. Well, that was actually my next question. That was actually my next question. So, okay, very, very interesting. Um, I'm just going to shake it up a bit before I get to that next question, which will be about breath work. I'm going to ask you, just you, Zach.
Hmm.
May I ask you your star sign? I don't know if I asked you last time, but I forgot. Your star sign.
Leo.
And have you ever had just a straight, regular 9 to 5 job, or have you always done this?
Oh no, I was a explorer. I tried everything I possibly could. So I worked jobs. I actually used to race BMX professionally. Um,
Wow.
I used to have a graphic design company. I was I was a hardcore seeker. I grew up without religion as a child, and so 18, 19 years old, it's like I knew there was something out there. I was just like I was looking everywhere for it. And so, you know, I was reading all the books and taking all the classes and working every job, okay, maybe this is the thing that's going to make me happy. So I tried everything.
Right. And now what do you do? Do you just let it all be to be
Yeah,
happy?
yeah. Well, the cool thing is none of those things ever made me happy for very long.
Mm.
Maybe they last a little bit, but none of them ever lasted. None of them were ever enough. And because it was never about the things, right? Like our mind
Mm.
is convinced that it's like if I get the relationship or I get the money or I get the house or whatever it is, that's going to make me happy, and it never does. It's like what we're looking for is inside of us, and that's it's funny. It's like what we're looking for is inside of us, and what you're looking for can be found in the places that you didn't want to look, right? It's found in the feelings that we didn't want to feel.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's then get on to question, which is very practical for anyone who's listening about breath work. So, what is breath work and how is it different to just breathing? Because it's becoming very popular. In Sedona, you can't move for breathwork practitioners.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Breathwork is kind of a general term for any sort of conscious breathing practice. Anything where we're mindfully breathing, I would put into the category of breathwork. And so, in yoga, it's all of the pranayamas, and then there's all kind. Wim Hof is out there, and then there's specific breathwork practices that are kind of designed to bring you into a expanded state of consciousness. Um, and so that's what I work with a lot when I do my retreats and workshops and things. It's like it's like connecting to the life force, and it's like that life force heals. And so it heals in so many ways. It can be emotional release, definitely clears out baggage and old stuff. It connects us deeper to ourselves. It creates these expanded states to where we can be with that past experience, but in a way in which we can heal it. Like instead of a lot of times when something was big and overwhelming, we didn't know what to do with it. We held our breath in it. We shut down in it. Well, it's like we're probably carrying a piece of that experience with us ever since. And
Right.
so it's
Why
like
we locked it in with we locked it in with by holding our breath.
yeah, yeah. Like I watch, another example would be like energy healers or people that are working with people doing any sort of healing work. It's like when we have the examples of like, oh, I took something on from somebody, it was usually what happened is like there was something that came up in this person, and the person that was working with them wasn't breathing, and so they became sticky. And it's like I've
Right. Very interesting note for healers out there.
yeah, so I've always watched, just energetically, like when I look at energy of people, it's like when we're breathing, when we're connected to the breath, it's like everything gets to move. Like, we're like a river. It's like energy is moving through us freely. Okay, anytime we're holding the breath, we become sticky, right? It slows it down, it stops it, it gets stagnant. And energy is kind of like water. It's like when water is moving, it's healthy, it's vibrant, it's alive. You stop water for long enough and it starts to smell and grow stuff. And so that's very much, a lot of the conditions that it's like, when something gets to the place of a condition or an inflammation or something that's going on in the body, it's like here's a place where energy hasn't been moving very much. And so just breathing into that area and relaxing and opening that area actually starts the healing.
Is there a kind of go-to breath exercise you can do with us now and for everyone who's listening to try and help to start to, get things moving, get things shifting?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, obviously I can't take you through, a full conscious breathwork practice like I practice because I need to be there in person for that one. But I love all the breath practices, and so hopefully this inspires people to go, find your local, go experience some different types of breath work. In my
Or come to
experience,
Sedona?
or come see me. I'd love that too. But there's no relationship. It's like the relationship to the breath. There's no relationship that has such an impact on the quality of our lives, on the quality of our health. You'll even see it's like there's breathing patterns, that unconscious breathing patterns that maybe go with our finances or that are happening in our relationships, and we start bringing breath there, and it starts to open those up.
Well, let's do a relationship opening breath. Can we do that?
A relationship opening breath. Let me see here. I was feeling another one. I was feeling like just how about we do this actually? This one that we're doing will actually kind of will it goes everywhere, right?
Okay.
It goes for those that are not operating heavy machinery or driving. If you're sitting around, then if you can close your eyes, that's nice. You can also do this with your eyes open, but we'll just find the breath. And so breathing through your nose, taking some deep, soft, sweet, relaxing breath, just allowing your body to soften and open. And then, just being aware of your body, just asking this question of what part of your body do you notice the least right now? It's kind of like scan around. It's like, what's the part of your body that you notice the least right now? And when you
I
find
think
that,
for me, it's my whole body.
okay, okay, when you find that area, let's use the breath and your awareness to just breathe more life into that area. It's like use the breath to let it wake up, to let it come alive, to fill it with more light. And what
Is it
we're
just
what's
in and
that?
out through the nose, Zach, or in and out
Yeah,
through the?
yeah, just
Okay.
in and out through the nose is fine. And as you feel that place in your body, it's like it's almost like it's coming more to life. It's waking up maybe. We'll ask that question again. If you check in, what part of your body now do you notice the least? It could be the same place, right? It could be your toes, it could be your lower back. It's like finding the next place in your body that you notice the least. It could be the same place. And we're going to do that same practice again. It's like, okay, let's wake this place up. And so we're using our awareness and the breath to open and awaken this area of the body. Beautiful. Let's do that one more time. We'll kind of scan the body again. It's like, what is the next part of your body that you notice the least? Just breathing deeply, inviting it to relax, to open, to expand. Just breathing life force or light into that area of the body. And this is a fun practice. You can do this at any point in time. You can do this when you're walking around. You can do this when you're driving your car. And it's once you start doing this enough, you kind of get to this place where you're just like, I can't find a place in my body that I'm not noticing right now because I'm just fully aware of every cell in my body, really, really present in my body. That is such a healing space. Like, when we're talking about, you were giving example of like, okay, if, relationship patterns or issues or whatever, it's like those are held someplace in the body in an unconscious place. And so we start bringing breath and awareness, and that place starts becoming more and more conscious. Those patterns come up. Those patterns come up into the light. Those patterns come up to the surface where they can be seen and felt and resolved.
Right. Beautiful. And Zach, is there any sort of significance, if someone can't feel their toes versus they can't feel their hands or their head or whatever? Is there any significance to the body part, or is it you don't need to worry?
It could be. It's and some of these things. It's like I've been playing with that for a long time, and so it's I didn't get to like to being aware of everything. That took some time of really exploring and really opening up. And so if there's a part of a body that's just really that's kind of like numb or feels like it's blocked off, be gentle with yourself. It's like we don't have to get to the feeling, but it's like every time that we touch it, that's doing something. Every time that I notice that I can't feel a part of my body and I just breathe into it what I can, like make some more room for it how I can. It's like every time that is doing something. And sometimes these things sometimes it does need to take a longer period of time because there's a lot of stuff there or it's really big stuff.
So, okay, so we understand there's kind of conscious breathing, which we use what we call breath work, and then there's unconscious breathing, which is what we do, 24/7, usually, just to stay alive. Does unconscious breathing heal a bit as well, or do you have to do sort of conscious breathing? What's the big difference there?
Well, it's a wonderful thing that the body knows how to breathe when we're not paying attention, or else we wouldn't be here. So,
Yeah.
so that so well, there's kind of like maybe we call that survival breathing of like, okay, when my body's breathing and I'm not even aware of it, you know,
Right.
like if someone is you know deep in thoughts of past or future, it's usually showing up in their breath as either shallow or held or very inconsistent, unconscious. And so it's like finding the places where we're unconscious about our breath is such a powerful practice. And so people start doing this work with me and they might realize it's like, wow, I had no idea I was holding my breath 2,000 times a day. And it's like, cool, you've always been doing that, but now there's an awareness of it, and so now we can start opening that up, right? Now we can start taking that down and like,
Right.
okay, all right, I start working with breath, and then it's less and less, and then maybe I'm only holding my breath 100 times a day, and then less and less and less, and what happens is we start. It's like every time those were places of unconsciousness or checkout, and so we're just bringing more presence and more awareness into our lives, which is where all the magic is happening. So
Right. And I remember you saying in Sedona something about, when you hold your breath, it means or it's happening because or something. What was the idea behind that when we hold our breath?
Yes, there's a difference between there's breath practices where you're consciously holding your breath, and those are beautiful and powerful. But and what we're talking about is it's like the unconscious breath holds, right? The breath just checked out because I wasn't even paying it, wasn't even aware of my
Yeah.
body wasn't even aware of my body or my breath. And so, it's not a bad thing. I've never met anyone that didn't do that a lot, but it's like now we have awareness of it. Now we can start exploring it. And it really is. It's like all of those places of unconscious checkouts. It's like that's where everything is hiding that we've been looking for.
Right.
And that process can be very uncomfortable, right? We start work with many people, it's like we start like breathing into a new area of our body, and then, all of a sudden it's like a bunch of emotions might come up, you know. It's like, whoa, well, why am I crying for no reason? And it's like, well, there might have been some emotion held there. And
Yeah.
so it's like our awareness, our presence, like presence heals everything. And so we start being present with anything, and it's like it starts to open up, it starts to heal, it starts to, transmute. And
Yeah.
what hijacks from presence, the mind jumps in and starts calling it a bad thing, or like, oh, why am I crying? Or I shouldn't be crying. And all of a sudden we've needed to leave presence and jump back into the interpretation.
Yeah.
The two most powerful practices in the entire world are to breathe and to feel. Right?
Yeah. Actually,
And
I wanted to say something before. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was something along the lines of, feeling your feelings is healing. I was thinking, that does actually bear out in reality as well, because, sometimes if you're going through a rough time, if you have a really good cry, you
yeah,
do actually feel better. Like it's like you're better for a certain amount of time, because you've cried out a lot of the feeling.
yeah,
You've felt them and you've released them.
yeah. And it's like let them express. It's like to let them complete their, we could almost call it like that feeling has a mission,
Mm.
and it hangs around until its mission is complete. And so it's like it needs to express in the way that it's here to express. When we look at this, it's like every single, well, there's uncomfortable feelings, and our mind misunderstands that means that they're bad or wrong, or that they're negative, or that they're not okay. And it's like, no, it's like every single feeling will heal you if you let it, right?
Yeah.
If you give it the room, if you just let yourself feel it and have it and let it move. Again, it's like a good cry, and it's like, wow, I feel amazing after that. And it's like every feeling and emotion has the capability to do that. But what usually happens is our mind is getting in the way of like 80% of them, you know.
Right.
And so I give the example of, if we talk about happiness and sadness, and if we ask people which one would you rather be, and it's like most people will say like happiness. Why? Because it feels better. It's like, well, what if that's not true, that it feels better? What if what's really happening is there's more of an allowance and an openness? It's like happiness is welcomed, and sadness, it's like if there's any resistance there, if there's any judgment there, we've called it negative, we've closed off more to sadness. It's like closing off hurts more than anything. Us shutting down to life, us trying to separate from life hurts more than the thing we were trying to separate from. And
Right.
so it's like happiness and sadness are both frequencies. What if what really feels good is to be open, and what really hurts is to be closed?
Yeah.
And so that sounds very nice what I'm saying, and I understand that's like that can be really intense. It's like, okay, to keep opening up in grief, that's a very conscious practice. Like that takes a lot of intention, that takes a lot of presence to stay open in grief, or to stay open in some of these things that are really intense, that are very uncomfortable to feel. But that's the practice. How open can I be in this feeling that's very uncomfortable? The ego wants to like figure out what it is so that it can make it go away. But it's like we came here to feel everything. I get to work with people a lot. Like when we check in with your soul, like, hey, when you came to Earth, didn't you come here to feel everything? And it's like, yeah, I did. Cool. Well, let's allow ourselves to feel everything, right? Because
Right.
one of the things that creates so much stress and pain and suffering in people's lives is to pretend that the way that I'm feeling right now is not okay. or that I shouldn't be feeling this way right now. When the truth is, it's like, no, I came here to feel this way.
Do
Go
we
ahead.
really come here to have all these feelings, even the really hard ones? I mean, people who go through really tough stuff,
Yeah.
do we really come to feel all that?
I think every one of us came here to feel really tough stuff.
Hmm. Why? What does it do for us?
It like it's for me that it's where so much of the magic was hidden. Right? Like
And by
it was
feeling it, you release the magic.
yeah, yeah. I've never met someone that didn't have really, really, really hard things to feel. We all got that. Some people got it much earlier than others. Some people got it in very unique ways, but it's like we all had really, really hard things to feel. And it's like to just be in the mind about it. It's like it needs to be felt, not figured out, not thought about yet. It's like feel it first and then let's see afterwards if there's anything I need to know about it.
Right.
Because some of the again it's like some of the hard things I was talking about, the happiness and the sadness, it's like people will argue, people will be like, oh no, happiness feels better, but again it's like, no, what if that's not actually the emotions themselves, right? Those are just frequencies. They're just, we could call them colors of the rainbow. They're just notes of music. It's like we're what if we kicked out all of the low notes out of music? How many of your favorite songs would be ruined? And so all of these emotions actually, it's like, what if all of them are contributing to an even sweeter and more beautiful life experience, but kind of been taught, and it's our culture that taught this. It's like, all the indigenous cultures, like they honored all the feelings and all the emotions and recognized the value in all of them. And so it's like, it's this newer thing of like, these ones are good and these ones are bad. And let's just have the good ones and get rid of the bad ones. And it's like, that's so out of alignment with nature, which is why people have such a hard time with some of these emotions and feelings, including myself. Like that was that I know this so well because it's like I did all of that. It's like I was trying not to feel any of these things. It was the feeling these things that just connected me, that I just got even deeper in myself, that I just found even more love and gratitude. And so underneath all of these feelings, you're going to find more love eventually.
Yeah, and it's funny because people who don't want to feel their feelings, they're the ones who eat too much or drink too much or do too many
Yeah.
drugs or whatever. And I guess that's exactly what's happening there. They're trying not to feel these bad feelings. But it is hard to feel bad feelings. But what you're saying is just feel the feelings, do the breath work, and let it to become a kind of a road on which to travel.
Yeah, the feelings will keep stretching us. There's no place to get to where it's like I've felt all the feelings. As far as my experience and what I know, it's like there's no such thing as I've felt at 100%. There is no
Mm.
100% in infinite. It's like there's always more, right?
And
there is no finish line.
okay, but an idea that illness can come from stress and
Yeah.
from feeling bad for a really long time, for example. But you're sort of almost saying, well, actually, if you feel everything, is that not going to be sick making?
Yeah, yeah. So, because again, when you fully get to feel an emotion, experience, the feelings that come up from a thought, it's like when we get to feel them and like make room for them and they get to like finish their job, then they're not stuck in our body anymore.
Right.
And if we look at, so many of the diseases and the things, it's like, what is that? It was like there was stuff that's stuck in the body that didn't move, that didn't get processed. You're talking about, where we eat to avoid the feelings, and it's like where we drink or we do drugs or like all of the things, all of the tactics, and it's like, you know, those all end up being unhealthy things, right?
Yeah.
And so it's uncomfortable, and nobody has to be good at this right away. Like if you can give yourself like 3 more seconds, it's like you allow yourself to feel something for 3 seconds before you go back into the trying to control and manage it. It's like that does something. It's like the more that we play in this, the easier it gets. And it's like when someone really starts to get this and you really see, it's like, wow, there's this big emotion. There's also like this, it might be an uncomfortable feeling. There's also this excitement because, hey, this is something new to feel. This is the universe expanding even more.
Mm. So, Zach, people who want to work with you, you do work online. Not all your work goes online, but a lot of it does. Is that right?
Yeah, I do some online, yes.
So what should they do? Should they go to your website? Is that the best place to find you? Or where can people find you? Facebook, Instagram, website? Do tell.
Yeah, my website's probably the easiest. There's a way to reach out through there and see what's going on. Yeah, I'm in this really interesting place where I've let go of all of these things. I don't know what I'm being prepared for, but there's like letting go of a lot of things and setting a lot of things aside and just hanging out to see what wants to come through next.
Right. And you do have these things on your site. I remember finding them last time I looked, sort of past events that you've recorded. You still have them on your site? Actually, I'm on your site. I'm not sure if I can see them.
Yeah, I have there's a bunch of recordings of the Harmony series. Those are always fun.
Yes.
Those are so we take a topic and the concept behind that series is it's like everything is a doorway into awakening, into healing. And so each one of those we just take a topic and then we just follow that in and deeper into ourselves. And so they're really fun. There's hundreds of them. So they're
Yeah.
they're all like
I
on a
downloaded
different.
a few of them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can't find them on your site now. Are they on a different website?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't looked at my website for quite some time.
Yeah, maybe.
It's in the store.
Oh, it's in the store. Oh,
Yes.
the store hidden away under more. There we go.
Oh,
So go to Zach Rehder, ZACHREHDER. I'll say it again. ZACHREHDER.com. We'll also put a link in the show notes. And then go to more, and then go to store, and then go to the Harmony series. And I downloaded a few of those. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. Right. Yeah, no, you're honestly an amazing healer, Zach. I've been around and I know what's what, and you are honestly amazing. I can say that just because I had a healing with you, but also even just listening to you. Just tell us briefly before you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off then. On your website, there's a thing about the apprenticeship, Breathwork Facilitator Training Program. That looks amazing. So that's to learn how to be a conscious breathwork facilitator. Is that right?
yeah, that's correct.
And it's a 5-day live retreat in Sedona. Is it once a year?
Yes, that's once a year. It's like a 6 to 8 month program. There's a couple live events, and then the rest is people on their own and just on the phone, and we connect that way. So yeah, I really love that program. And so
It'd be amazing to do that.
yeah.
And if anybody just wants to have a one-on-one session with you, you do that as well, don't you? They can do that just over the phone or over the internet.
Yes, correct.
Amazing. Right. So before we go, Zach, is there anything that you would like people to know about healing beyond what we've said?
Yeah. I'd say for those that do have something that's going on right now, whether that's a physical condition or just like, if you're in a funk, whether it's about your finances or whatever the challenge is in our life, it's like that challenge. What if that challenge actually has so many gifts for you? What if that challenge is actually here to serve you? And instead of settling for our mind's story of like this needs to go away or this shouldn't be here or what did I do wrong to bring this into my life? Like all of these judgments, it's like, wait, what if this is here to serve me? And I got to like get really curious. What is this experience inviting me to feel? And to actually spend some time with those feelings and breathing with those feelings. And it's like spending time with the feelings, putting on pause, trying to figure it out or control it or manage it. What is this inviting me to feel? Oh, okay. And there's a lot to feel usually, especially like something that's a pretty good trigger of ours. It's like, wow, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to feel. And it might, and maybe I check in with that every day. Maybe I check in with that every time that I think about it or every time that thing comes up in my life, it's like, hey, what is this inviting me to feel right now? And to really just breathe and make room for all the feelings to feel them. One of the things I didn't mention, it's like the more that we relax, it's like every time that we relax just a little more, we can feel even more. And so it's like some of these things have only been felt very topically, very, very superficially. And so it's like the more that we can relax and open with them, the more we begin to feel their subtleties. And there's so much magic in that. So it's like we all get to be explorers. It's like go out in the world and be triggered and take advantage. And it's like, hey, what am I being invited to feel right now? So.
And I'm just going to end by asking something personal. Not for me, actually. It's for a friend.
Okay.
And I promise on my honor, I'm asking for a friend. I really am asking for a friend. So she's a very conscious person. She's actually the person who learned how to meditate. And when I saw her life changing so drastically, I thought, right, I'm going to learn how to meditate, because she sort of went from this chaotic person to this much more centered person. But she's just had a very difficult diagnosis. So for her and for anyone like her listening, what do you say to them? Is it really just the same thing? What is this inviting me to feel?
Yeah. And a difficult diagnosis, those can bring up just about all the feelings, right? Those can bring up so much. And, if it's a diagnosis, they go for a long time. Like they keep showing us, they keep bringing up new things to feel. And that's such a powerful place. Again, it's like that goes along with any healing protocols that people are doing, that's modern medicine or the natural medicine. It's like they should all go together, right? And we work with all of them. It's like let's take advantage of all the tools and follow really following like what your own heart knows, what this is. Because again, it's like if somebody that say has a tumor or something like that, it's like and they can just cut it out. Well, the tumor wasn't the actual problem. The tumor was, it was the symptom, but it wasn't what was really going on. To be with things from all of the angles, a really difficult diagnosis. It's like this is life saying, it's like, hey, let's relook at everything, right? Let's question everything. Okay, is there anything in my life that I'm doing right now that's not in alignment with my highest truth? Is there anything that I need to let go of? Is there anything that I need to bring in new? And so, a big, the scary diagnosis, it's this kind of like time to take life inventory and question absolutely everything. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Is this supporting my health? Is this okay? What do I need to change in my work? With how I'm treating my body. Is there anything I need to adjust or let go of in my relationship? It's like we got to really look at everything, and really taking advantage of it's like not to settle for the story that because there's a diagnosis, and so there is a story about what's happening here. And that's a tiny piece of the story. What's really happening is so much bigger than that. And so it's like to let it be bigger than that, because I've worked with many people with diseases, I've worked with many people with cancer. And on the other side of that, when they have their journey with it, and on the other side of that, they all say that cancer was one of the best things that ever happened to them. It changed their life. It's like what they have access to, their love and their gratitude is exponentially more than before.
Yeah, my dad actually said that he had a cancer diagnosis and he got better and was around for a lot longer, more than a decade afterwards. He was already getting old when it happened to him, and he always said that it changed his life for the better. So yeah, okay.
If that's right, like what if we went in, it's like, hey, what if this is here to change my life for the better? Instead of like, here's this thing that doesn't belong here that I need to control and make go away. It's like, what if this is here to serve me? And can I take advantage of like feeling all of the things that it invites me to feel? And then doing all of the other protocols or whatever else is involved with that just to support you on this journey of receiving the gifts of this condition.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Zach Rehder, you are amazing officially. I'm definitely going to look you up next time I'm back in Sedona, which hopefully won't be too long, and
Definitely let me know when you're back. Yes. Yeah.
I honestly, anyone listening, I honestly can't recommend Zach highly enough. And I don't say that lightly. In fact, I barely ever said that about anyone. So truly, you're amazing.
Well,
Keep doing it, and whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I don't think
thank
you
you.
even know what you're doing half the time, do you? You're just
I
following
don't
your
know.
intuition.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Zach. And
Thank
a
you.
reminder for everybody, just go to Zach, ZachRehder.com, Zach Rehder. Thank you, Zach, for being here.
Thank you. It was an honor to be with you. I appreciate you so much, Yasmin.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Mainly Moonology podcast. If you'd like to stay updated with the moon and moonology and astrology and all the other things we cover, be sure to subscribe to the podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You'll be notified whenever a new episode is up. Also, it would mean a lot to me and my team if you could leave us a glowing 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, please. That actually helps more people find us too, which spreads the love and surely also brings you amazing karma for taking a moment to help us out and to help other people find the podcast. Have a great week, and I hope to speak to you next week. Lots of love.